Barrett, you played 1000xRESIST. Tell me all about it.
1000xRESIST is a game out now on Steam and Switch. It's the debut game from Sunset Visitor, a Vancouver-based dev, and it's published by Fellow Traveler, known for publishing other games like Citizen Sleeper. It's a science fiction narrative-focused walking sim with a near automata aesthetic, and before your eyes glaze over and you're like, Barrett, I'm not really into walking sims, narrative-heavy games, I will give the context that these types of games are not really games that I really draw myself to either. With that said, I think it is a 9.5 amazing game that everybody should at least check out for this year. The one big kind of mechanic outside of just kind of walking around and getting story stuff is that you are jumping between points in time to relive the memories of a person who is seemingly the sole survivor of a world-ending event. You play as Watcher, and you live in a colony fully made up of clones that are all cloned after this one person, and you all kind of live to serve her, and she is called the All-Mother. This colony has called her. The game opens up with you literally stabbing the All-Mother in the back, and then it's kind of off to the races on, like, what's the context here? How did we get to this moment? And kind of learning the backstory of Watcher and what led her to commit this kind of crime, right? For me, the reason that it is an amazing game, it is the story is, I honestly think, is one of the most creative I've seen in a game. The story itself, but then also the way the story unfolds. It's not afraid to kind of weave several stories together at the same time and have it all kind of emotionally unfold before you. If you enjoy non-linear kind of storytelling that we've seen a lot in like Christopher Nolan films, I think you'd get a lot out of this. If you enjoy just like really interesting science fiction amongst the kind of like Arrival and like Moon, I think you'd get a lot out of this. I know that the aesthetics are very like anime, near kind of heavy, but I think the way the story is told has a much more like Western style to it, which I think is an interesting juxtaposition. And the story and the writing itself is kind of really, really strong in how they're able to balance so many spinning plates on what this game is tackling. A lot of the kind of big emotional things revolve around like what lessons we carry from our parents and like how does that affect us as parents and how that could affect our families for generations to come. It tackles what justice means to us and like why it's important to fight for something no matter how futile it feels. It also brings in real world events to kind of help commentate on these things, like the Hong Kong protests that started a few years back. It brings in, you know, the very recent big thing of like the pandemic. And it's also kind of just all-encompassing what it means to be human constantly facing an uncertain future. And those are just kind of a few examples of what this game is all about. I think if this was a lesser game, I think all of these topics trying to be talked about at the same time could have come off a little bit like heavy-handed. But I think the strength of the writing and the delicate unfolding of the story makes tackling all of these subject matters like seem really easy, which is definitely not an easy thing to do. I personally think it is the best story I've experienced in a game so far this year. If you care about inventive storytelling and you care about new themes and topics being explored in video games, I think you owe it to yourself to play 1000xRESIST.
Okay, awesome. It's on my list now, for sure.
Hell yeah.